All right, bows and bow ties. So look, I have somebody who has not made an appearance in a while. I've got D Shabazz in the background. Let me show your face for a second. There he is, or show your avatar. Let me kick him out for a second. Anyway, so look, we're talking about Kanye is running for the 2024 presidential election and more. And so this is the thumbnail you would have selected to get in here. Yay, 24. So, I entertain myself when I think about these kinds of conversation topics. Um, Before we get on into it, so for those of you who know who've been here before, I am the Black opinionated woman, also known as a Bo. For those of you who are new to my channel, I am the Black opinionated woman, also known as a Bo. So previously, I did several. Let me see if I can bring. I think I saved some of the old thumbnails. I did several videos on Kanye. All right. Let me see if I have some of them in here. I may have a few of them here. I may have tossed them. I'm trying to see if I have them up in here. Apparently, I've tossed them because I was like, I'm done with this cat. All right. So look. So I've talked about Kanye and his delusion. I talked about whether it's Kanye and Kyrie and anybody else who wants to jump out here. I'm probably going to be on an island, but I talk about how that they were really caught up in what was happening to them. And I was trying to explain to the populace that, multiple things can be true at the same time. I do believe there was some sort of witch hunt that happened with Kanye and Kyrie was he was punished, for running his mouth. But one of the things I've always said was I said, wait a second. You can't get loud on someone else's social media platform using someone else's bank, using someone else's resources, trying to elevate yourself using someone else's brand. Now, don't get me started. They also used his brand and his influence as well. But at the end of the day, Kanye was delusional enough to think that he rose to ascension. And I'm like, wait a second. There were powers that be that allowed you to rise to ascendancy or to ascend, right? Because what happened was he did a lot of talking. He was reckless with his tongue. His language was inflammatory in the community, and they didn't care because it wasn't affecting their community. But what happens is the people who own the brands, who own social media, who own the banks, who own the production facilities for the footwear. See, they were like, well, no, we're not having it. What you will not do is run your mouth. We can show you better than we can tell you. The 2 billion or 10 billion or whatever it was that you think you're worth, you can go ahead and get on up out of here. And also, your money is not even good enough in our banks. Candy cane, by the way. So they let them know you are not as good or important as you think you are. And if you think that you can't be taken down, let me remind you who holds the cards. So I'm going to let D Shabazz jump right on up in here because I know he probably has a lot to say because now Kanye has decided he's going to throw his hat in for the presidential bid. So what do you say about that? Oh, can you hear?
Okay. Yeah, this is this whole. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Hello?
Okay. I think this whole thing, what he's doing, is just a publicity stunt. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of delay now.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
I don't know what's going on with that. What I
For
was saying, I
those of
think
you who are
basically
out there in
what's
podcast
going on
land,
with
and
Kanye,
go
just
ahead.
basically he's taking. Yeah, it's
He did a
basically
sound check, and
Kanye's
this
taking
was
thing Donald
perfectly
Trump. This is
fine.
all about publicity.
It is about publicity.
Huh?
I think he's a clown.
Am
He's a
I still
full-on clown.
am I still delayed?
It appears that you are
Well,
delayed by.
I mean, it's not only that. This man is. Am I? we worked
Yeah,
this
you're
out.
delayed. I'm not sure exactly where the delay is coming from because we
Anyway,
definitely did a sound check. But go ahead.
yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, I think basically this man. We got to remember this man has been taking medication. He has been diagnosed with having some kind of mental disorder. It's all of an attention to um, a way of getting attention, and the way how he's going about is all about aligning himself with some of the wildest people on the on like the Candace Owens and other folks from the alt right, which has just been just totally just crazy in my word, it's crazy. Um, and then he slapped hands where there are people who were trying to be sympathetic and speak on his behalf, like for a prime example, Minister Farrakhan. And he goes back some days or days later and claps, for lack of a better word, claps back at Minister Farrakhan. Now, me being a long listener and admirer and gotten some good words of uplift and motivation through Minister Farrakhan, when I heard that, that was really upsetting. Him speaking ill to one of the few elders that we have that says, very poignant and uh, um, intelligent and words of wisdom to black folks, and particularly the black youth, like myself when I was young. So yeah, Kanye is just he's just all over the place. He's a fool. This is just brother just needs help, or I should say Ye. I'm gonna be respectful and call him the name he changed himself to Ye.
Well, this is what I would say. Um, whether you're Muslim, Christian, or whatever, I'm not Muslim. I think the way he is performing in the community, I think it is laughable at best. I wanted to pull up the let me see if I can bring this up. Can you see this? This is the it came from the Guardian. Let me see if I can scroll down for a second. And for those of you who are on podcast land, I'm on theguardian.com. And the title of this is Kanye West announces 2024 presidential bid amid far right ties. Now, I'm not going to read everything here, but the very first line I thought was interesting. It says the disgraced rapper and designer, formerly known as Kanye West, has said he plans to run for the president in 2024, or I'm sorry, for president in 2024, amid a series of anti-Semitic tirades and new far-right associations. So for me, I'm like, stop right there. Disgraced rapper and designer. I'm like, to who? There's still a whole lot of people who are rocking with Kanye. Now, I stopped rocking with Kanye a long time ago, but to who? To whom is he disgraced? See, the reason why I wanted to stop right there was because when you don't even own the print publications, they can shape the narrative of anything. Now, I want to make it clear. I am not a great like caper for Kanye. I don't cape for Kanye. I think he's a silly kind of person. But this goes back to what I said from the very beginning. I can't possibly respect you and your rhetoric when you are not even aware of your position. You talk about how they smacked you down, you're the billionaire, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you didn't own anything. So you can't get out there and think you can continuously insult a group of people who who are great at gatekeeping their image, gatekeeping for their community. So the very first line of that, right then and there, already let me know. I'm like, see, they're going to shape this this story as they should. But going back to the story, let me see if I can bring it back up. Sorry, because I'm running my mouth. Um, let me see, scroll down. Sorry. So he's running for president. He declared some stuff. They talk about how he got into it with all the different brand agents or brand names or whatever that he had, right? He was locked out of Twitter and Instagram. I mean, this is basically just confirming everything that I already said. Blah, blah, blah. anti-Semitic protests, blah blah blah. So people are literally like, okay, so now he thinks that he can put like just say what he wants. Then what happened was when you are a puppet, when people want to use you, they will cape for you. They will keep for you. Look what they did. Ye's faltering effort to distance himself in the remarks were further undermined when anti-Semitic demonstrators referenced Ye in signs raised over the 405 freeway in Los Angeles and in Jacksonville, Florida. One sign reportedly said, Kanye is right about the Jews. So when people want to stoke the fire and they want to basically put a battery in your pack, of course, they'll agree with you. And then, of course, the governor of California came out and was like, he said some things against it in the following paragraph. If you scroll down, now I'm just using just the Guardian. There are other articles out there, okay? But what cracked me up the most, and maybe it's just me because I'm a silly person, and then I'm gonna let D Shabazz chime in. I'm giving him a head start because I know there's like a 2 second delay. This is what tickled me the most. The thing that Trump was most disturbed about is me asking him to be my vice president. Kanye said in a video posted on his recently unlocked Twitter account, I think that was like lower on the list of things that caught him off guard. He's like, it was the fact that I walked in with intelligence. I was just sitting there thinking, like, the audacity and the full-on clownery of this man. What do you think about that, D Shabazz?
I think it's a clown show, but you had two clowns. So I mean, I think it shocked Trump if that's true. What happened? It shocked Trump that Kanye Trump. He did so,
He,
and again, I think this whole thing is just like kind of like Trump did when he ran. It's all about publicity, try to get his brand out there. I think it's more to it than that. And again, like let's also like I just said, this man has been on medication for mental issues. So we can't forget that.
I mean,
So
he was like, he basically was like,
you
I
know,
don't understand
he
what the problem
he
is.
he may still be in a manic state. I mean, if you saw that clip of him on the Drink Champs, it's classic manic. Everything how he was
No.
speaking and all over the place was manic. It's just this man has mental issues, and we need to just also keep that in mind. Even all the stuff he said, the brother's sick.
Well, so I want to throw in a little monkey wrench here for a second. I'm going to take a slight little detour. What do you think of this? So, for those of you who are in podcast land, by the time I upload this, I have several pictures of Herschel Walker, basically the face on a marionette, and one where there's like basically a wind up toy. His face is on this wind up toy. Somebody winds him up, and he's being puppeted or by basically white men. Now,
Well,
that's
I would
just
say the
my
same thing with
perspective.
Warnock, though. I think both of them are or it's a puppet show with both of them.
I'm going to be honest.
To be honest with you,
I'll put it like this. I threw that out there. I was talking with CBR Kid earlier. We were like, how many people could I really run with? I mean, there's so many ways of slicing and dicing this, but we're gonna go with like I'm going with the obvious ones, at least what I believe is obvious, right? You got Herschel Walker out there. He's like, that's all folks like. I'm like, I don't even understand what he's saying. I'm like, now, luckily for me, I don't live in the state of Georgia. Um,
I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm not a Herschel Walker fan. However, his okay, we know this dude played in the NFL. I believe he has CTE.
I
I
think
truly
most people.
believe that. However, when we talk about speaking, uh, John Lewis wasn't that articulate either.
Yeah, well, okay, but we're talking about Herschel.
so maybe that so maybe
I
that
mean,
has something to do with the
we
state of
could go
Georgia
with
itself.
yeah. I mean, well, one of the things I was going to do is I started to put other people on here, but I decided to keep it just political because I was going to put like Charles Barkley on here, and we punted different things
Yeah,
back and forth
yeah.
on how
That's.
he's something else too.
I think you're onto something. I mean, but if you look at it, everybody who they're putting in our faces are athletes, entertainers. They're not people of industry. They're not people who have really built anything. They're basically either high paid employees, clowns, entertainers, court jesters, folks who are there just to entertain folks in the dominant society. You can't really think of any true black person within the last 10 or 15 years that's on TV significant or hosting the show that wasn't some kind of court jester or came from that lane, be it sports, entertainment, comedy, or trumpet player or whatever.
Well, I threw that in there because what I wanted to do was I wanted to ask, what do you think this means? We've got Herschel Walker running for the Georgia Senate seat. We've got Yay running for the presidency. And for me, I've had this conversation before, and I said, look, I get it. There is this celebrity and athletes have been involved in politics, at least for the last couple of decades that I can remember. And I'm sure if we go farther back, we can always find somebody who was a former something and turned politician. But I think the thing that irks me the most is what is represented for people who look like me tends to be like a Herschel Walker, a Kanye. The people who have the loudest platform because of their physical and athletic prowess or their musical creativity is not the intellectual person. That's not to say that our athletes and our creatives can't speak. And I think the thing that it just irks me so much, I'm like, what about the people who studied economics, who studied patterns in human development, who I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought. But the point I'm making was the people that are being chosen to represent us. I'm like, this is who we're choosing. We've got Herschel Walker up there.
I think,
I didn't see the clip, but he's showing a badge. And what is happening here? What does this mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, what you're seeing and what I truly believe, this is the harvest or the seeds that have been sown of the response of Black folks abdicating our responsibility and abandoning our institutions once the so-called folks in the dominant society legally allowed us to spend our money with their institutions or their businesses and stuff. So this is years in the making. Well, prior to that, the small little businesses and places that we did have that we were putting our money into, it was a small seed, but it was something at that time. Who would have kept at that? The years passed on, would have probably germinated to a nice big tree. Institutions, our own lane. We'd have our own area. I mean, unfortunately, and just to counter that, because I know the next that we've always been under attack economically, socially, politically, and whatnot. But I think what we're seeing here with the latest candidates running and stuff like this on both sides of the equation, on both parties, is the lack of us not supporting our own institutions and us thinking that the folks in the dominant society's water was wetter and their ice was colder, and us not putting in our own institutions. So these years back, so we are presented with these clowns, fools, and tokens by really they're really manufactured by folks in the dominant society on both sides of the political spectrum, be it the blue, the Democrat, Republican, both all the candidates that are presented to Black folks for the most part are not authentic. They're all either packaged, financed, or whatever from folks from the dominant society.
I
And this
won't
is why we have
disagree.
these clown shows.
I won't disagree with that, but I think regardless of the color of who you are, everybody is packaged. Um, you were talking about supporting black owned
But
institutions and
let's just say this: you don't see an Asian version of Herschel Walker. Where's the Hispanic version of Herschel Walker?
so
Where's
I was thinking
where's the other folks from other communities that are packaged like Herschel Walker or even the other guy, Warren? You
So
don't
I
have
talked
those.
about that today with CBR Kid because, right, I said, look, you're not going to see an Asian one, right? Because they are fully self sufficient. They're relatively, their needs are met, number one. So they don't care because they are largely unaffected. I mean, it is what it is. That's the reason why. They know that they have their community to fall back on. They gatekeep their image, so they don't care. They're the so-called model minority,
Right, but
and
we had that at one time too, but we abandoned our institution.
yeah, well, part of it was destroyed and some of it was us
Yeah.
abandoning it. I'm going to give you an example. I last year, oh, I wish I had my notebook in front of me. I called up, I looked up black banks and I was looking up one in Maryland in Baltimore area. And I can't remember if it's called Bank of the Harbor. I don't remember the name
Was
of it. It's written down.
was it industrial?
Sorry?
Industrial?
No, no,
Like
no,
a
no. I think it had the name Harbor in it or something like that. I mean, you could do a simple Google search. And I don't want to be negative, but I'm going to be honest. When you go out to the website, I mean, I could probably pull it up, but I don't want to do that. I'll make people do the work. I went onto the website and I was like, okay, nice website. And it started off leaving a negative taste in my mouth because I'm like, this is a black owned bank, but it was like they were scared to put black images out there. I get it. I'm not sure if I agree, but I get it, right? Because you have to attract money into the bank, right? The only way that the bank can be successful is if you get these large participants, people who have a lot of money to participate in the banking system so that they can lend it out 19 times. I think it's 19 times. Isn't it 19 times that the bank can lend out money? I forget, or maybe it's 22. I don't remember what the number is. That's not material. So I'm looking at the images on the web and I'm like, it was like they put black people there, but they were putting other people there. So I'm like, okay, well, what is the purpose of this bank? So then I called them up. I'm like, hi, I want to talk to somebody about blah, blah, blah. And I asked the person who answered the phone, and I don't remember her name. I could probably look it up. And I said, I have a question for you. Number one, this is a black owned bank, right? And the lady was super polite and everything. She was like, yes, this is a black owned bank, blah, blah, blah. I said, how come you guys don't really put many images of black people out there? And she paused. And you know what she said? She took a deep breath and she said, I know. So already, this isn't even starting off the way this conversation should be going. So then I said, well, who can I talk to? I said, because I can't tell if this is a black bank. It's in the city. Now, keep in mind, I don't even like Baltimore, but nevertheless, I was like, well, maybe I should start putting some money over there to support the bank. It was going to be a small amount because that's not my home bank. But maybe I should try to put some money into the bank. But I'm like, I want to know what kind of programs do you have? Like, are you supporting the community or are we just saying it? Like, what is going on? Where's the bulk of the money? And so it was kind of like a whole bunch of hello, my baby, hello, my honey. She was like, but here, email this person. And now, in fairness to her, most people are probably not going to be able to answer that question. But she was cognizant enough to know when I said, your website does not give me black owned bank. It gives me bank with some black people on the website to make it seem like it's diverse, inclusive, that type of thing. Now, getting
Yeah.
back to the whole point of all this, I was like, I already don't even feel comfortable because I don't feel like people are telling me the truth, right? Like you're a black owned bank, but I feel like what's happening here? You're not even being truthful with your front. Like, and nobody is truthful, but my people need to be truthful with me. I expect it from people who don't look like me. But my people, I'm like, you can't tell me anything. I mean, I'm like, well, what is happening here? Chances are, I suspect that much of the money, and this is not factual. Hold on, let me get my situation up here. This isn't fact, but I suspect that much of the money that's coming in is not black dollars, and they are basically making their money off of non-black things. And I get it because we don't have a lot of capital anyway, especially in a place like Baltimore, which I just am not a big fan of Baltimore. When you say that we don't have our own institutions and all these other things, you are correct. Some of it has been destroyed, but some of it is us. And then when you have these businesses, and maybe the expectation is higher, but the fact of the matter is, I'm expecting you to treat me better than when I go out in the world. But that's just my thought. And so when I see people like even like what's being put in front of me, these politicians, I feel like they're a bunch of charlatans. They're a bunch of charlatans. Were you going to say something?
I would agree. I would. No, no, I was agreeing with you. And unfortunately, like yeah, some of those blanks. I don't know the name of that particular bank. I don't know. Apologizing to be black, whereas we need institutions to be unapologetically black, and and that's one of the issues I think right now. We still have some of these soft shoe tap dancing Negroes who still worry about making folks in the dominant society comfortable. And we have to, as a people, have to understand whatever we do, we're never going to make the people from the dominant society comfortable. It's never going to work that way. We have to be who we are and accept ourselves and be our own and accept ourselves, as Elijah Muhammad would say. So I think some of that comes from the scared Negro kind of mentality of kind of foster those images for that particular institution, that bank. But I think other banks may have a different spin on that. I think like Industrial in DC, which has a long history of servicing the black community. And I think it's incumbent upon us as black folks in these black churches and other black organizations and institutions to bank, and of course the community at large, but large black institutions and organizations need to be banking with for black folks, and we need to make that the next phase for black folks in the next century. And I think what's going to have to happen to black folks, we're going to have to fail even further for us to get better. Because right now, like I said, I think what we're seeing in the political game on both sides of the aisle, this is the manifestation of 60 years of black folks not taking responsibility and abandoning our own institutions and our own and not building up our own economy.
I mean, well, I feel like it's opening up Pandora's box when we're talking about we have failed and stuff like that. Honestly, I'm feeling a little petty. I'm like, no, black men have failed the community. They're supposed to be leading. And so in my mind, I'm like,
Well, I think it's just not black. I think it's just we can't just blame it on just one side. It's both sides. It's black men and black women. We sold our souls to think just so we can be next to or sit next to or sit on the toilet next to white folks. We abandoned everything that we had. Although it is true that every avenue we've been attacked too. Our institutions have been attacked as well. So we've always had, but we have to be honest and say that we particularly a certain um, generation, i.e., boomers, abandoned our institutions, thinking that folks in dominant societies, water was wetter, ice was colder. Some of the folks, boomers, wanted to get access to white sexual access on both sides, be it black men or black women.
well, it's even worse now. You
So
can't blame it all on the
we
boomers.
have to really take a step back and we have to be truthful.
I wouldn't
Huh?
even blame it on the boomers. I think it is even more
Say again.
prevalent now. So, I mean, but that's just where I'm at with it. I wouldn't blame it all on the boomers. I
Well, I
think it's
think the
even
boomers started it, and I think I agree with you. The boomers started it, and it got progressively worse. Like I always said that the boomers were the ones who got on drugs. Generation X was the ones who were selling them the drugs. Gen X was the ones who created the baby mama phenomenon. There were no such thing
baby
as a
daddy
term, and
phenomenon,
saying baby mamas didn't come around
baby
until
daddy.
Generation X created that. That too, baby mama, baby daddy. Both those terms saying that's a Gen X thing. We Generation X created that.
I
We
like to
have to
get
be
away
honest
from
about
that
that.
because I think
And
it's
a lot of us
I like to
abandoned.
get away from that because We're starting to demonize people who maybe they haven't been married, because there's the silly ones, but we're not going to say everybody in that falls in that category are silly. There are people who just simply
Well, of course
who
we can't. We're not gonna. We're not necessarily blaming everybody, but we have to be honest and
Yeah, but
call
we can be
like you
honest and
said,
not
call a thing a
but
thing.
not denigrate a group of people. I just feel like that's the problem. We denigrate ourselves. We want to tear each other down. I just feel like, for
Well, it's not
me,
denigration. I don't know if it's
I don't
denigration
feel like calling
if we're
everybody a
being
baby mama
honest.
and a baby
No, it's not
daddy.
denigration if we're no. But I'm saying no. I'm saying the term. There was no such thing as a baby. 40 years ago, no one was baby. That wasn't a common phrase. Baby mom, baby daddy. That didn't really start becoming a common phrase until the 90s.
I don't, it wasn't
So that's
common
what
to
I'm
me
saying.
until maybe the last 5 or
I'm
10
not
years.
trying
Like,
to
I
denigrate.
never
We're
heard that term
discussing.
in the 90s. I've never heard of that term in the 90s. Never.
Hmm,
I never heard
okay.
that until like maybe last five
No, I was,
plus
I was,
years.
I was, I was hearing that. I was hearing that. No, honestly, to be honest with you, I was hearing that in the '90s. I never forget. I was, um, I was hearing a few guys saying, "Oh, my baby mother," and I call oh my baby daddy. As a matter of fact, that song, I think that was in the '90s, right? That who that is? That's just your baby dad. I think that came out in the '90s, didn't it?
I don't remember. I
There
mean,
was
I
a
know the
song
song you're
of
talking
"That's
about.
just
I
my
don't know
baby
if I
daddy."
remember if it was in the 90s or the 2000s, but I don't want to get too far off the topic. So then the second question I wanted to ask was, do Kanye and Herschel care that they are being made a fool of? Is it an illness? Is it just foolishness? And there's that old proverb that says that a fool and his money shall soon
Okay,
part, on those lines,
okay.
right?
Let's let's take both individually. I think for Herschel Walker, to be honest with you, he is the kid. The and I know he played football, but he's the kid who wore the helmet in school. Basically, this dude. I think um, to be honest with you, I think he suffers from CTE. I think he's somewhat dim with it. He's stereotypical dumb athlete. Fits into that stereotype. Um, so in that aspect, yeah, he is being controlled by folks from the dominant. But I would say, to be honest with you, both sides of the aisle are folks being controlled by the dominant society. And when it comes to the case of Yee, I think he is ill, and I think he is a fool, and I think that he he thinks he's the smartest person in the room, which is to his detriment. And I think the fact that the man's going through some illness. He's going through some events, and I don't know who are the people around him, but he could be suffering because and I know I throw this out there so every time any kind of black person who has any kind of prominence or influence, we never should forget or never not throw out the equation of the Cohen-Temple program. And one of the
Sorry.
things that the Cohen-Temple program will do of any kind of black person who has any kind of clout, they'll use any kind of measure. And like they did to some people
Sorry.
believe that they did to Huey P. Newton was psychological warfare was hit on him. And so that could be also an aspect of what's happened to Kanye as well. Some psychological issues, damage has been done to him as well.
Yeah, sorry about all that. I was trying to change the background. I do think there is some sort of psychological damage that's happened, but no excuse. No excuse for he is not totally that gone where he doesn't
I mean,
understand
it's not
these
an
words
excuse
are
if it
worthless.
if it's.
No.
I think he is gone, and I think also I think he, like I said, I think he really believes he thinks he's the smartest person in the room when he's around folks, and I think he's also being used and propped up by folks on the alt right. Well, he's aligning himself with folks in the alt right, which I think is his foolishness on that that aspect.
I mean, I definitely think he just doesn't even care at this point. I think he's more concerned about massaging his ego. I think he needs the public adoration and adulation. I I don't know. I think he's a cancer. He is a cancer. As far as Herschel Walker, I'm going to be honest. To him, I see one gigantic step in fetch show. That's what he is. I'm like, I don't even understand when he's speaking. I'm like, what is he saying? Like, I can't even listen to him because, like, he's just a dum dum to me. I'm just like, you should not be allowed like out of the house without having a straight jacket. Like, and I exaggerate, like, but I mean, yes, I do understand that he's probably suffered um all kinds of complications from the hits he's endured during football. But I just feel like it is so unfortunate that people can use you this way. He is being used. Um and it's embarrassing, and we continue to allow this type of thing to happen, which brings me to my third point. I just tried to keep just 3 points tonight. um Gatekeeping our image. I'm like, how do we do it at this point? How do we gatekeep who is going to be representing us? Or I'm going to use Herschel, for example. Is he not representing us? Now we know that they're using him as a reflection of us, but in the position that he's in, is he representing Georgia? I mean, we know what he's supposed to represent, but is he simply just representing Georgia? Or are they trying to have him like representative of the black community?
Well, if no, I think he is representing folks in the dominant society in Georgia. Don't, and there's a significant number, I guess, of folks in the dominant society who are probably not that engaged on that aspect of the political um, voting and understanding what's going on there. Throw out both that um, Walker and Warnock. Neither of them represent black folks. I think Warnock just happens to be more symbolic, but not truly authentic. I think he is backed by, you know, white money. Well, both of them are backed by white money. Um, and the fact, I don't know if you saw that debate between Herschel Walker and Warnock, and the fact that Warnock can't even decisively beat Herschel Walker, a man who could barely intelligently speak, says a lot about Warnock. If you saw that debate and when they would ask him questions, this man never really answered a direct question. It
I
was
did not
always
see
some
the
run
debate.
around, not go to. Yeah, I mean, you have to watch it just for entertainment purposes, and you will see that. Yeah, Herschel Walker was not. I mean, it was embarrassing that Warnock basically was struggling, in my opinion, against a man who could barely put together a sentence. And it just showed that Warnock is just manufactured. And the fact that if you saw that debate, every time they asked him a question, he never answered the question. It was some old political speak roundabout and made no sense. So this is why he lost. Well, I'm not gonna say lost. Why he couldn't decisively beat Herschel Walker. Because
Well,
really,
I
if you
mean,
look at it, this is really the whole political race is Warnock's to lose because if he can't beat Herschel Walker, who we see is not the most put together as far as speaking and whatnot. If you can decisively beat this man and convince other people over Walker, that says a lot.
well, I don't know, right? Because 44 came through and he wasn't very really eloquent in his speech. He made up stuff and all kinds of stuff, right? I mean,
Well, that what that for well, oh, you talking about Bush?
no. Um
Well, you said
45.
44.
I said 44. 45. I'm like, what was it? 44. It was 44. I'm having a moment.
That's
I'm talking
okay.
about Trump.
Okay.
Oh,
I mean, well, again,
he
Trump
was
won. he won because Hillary Clinton again showed she wasn't a good candidate. She won. She lost because she didn't have the people who were supposed to have her back to vote. Most white women voted for Trump, not her.
Mhm.
And the fact that when and the way she came across was just she came across very entitled.
Well, she was,
Um,
and then a lot of
I
people don't
mean,
wanna hear that.
and hence why she lost. It
A
was
lot of
her
people
race
got
to
mad
lose,
about
and
that.
she did come entitled. She came entitled. She wasn't purposeful. She went to some voters and insultingly. Prime example. Just like even though
Biden did that too.
what's his name Biden was just as
Yeah.
bad, but both of them were just bad. But I think hers was worse. The fact that she was, they asked her what's going on. She talking about she had hot sauce in her purse. That's come on now. And then she up there doing the wobble with Roland Martin, not talking
I
about
don't know,
any
you know way more than
particular
me 'cause
policy.
I didn't see that. I don't know why they were
Oh
wobbling
yeah,
together.
yeah. These are things that they did
See you wobble, wobble. You see you shake it, shake it. You see you drop it.
and doing yeah.
Well, we're
So
not gonna get into that. I didn't know she was wobbling with, Roland Martin, but, that's another
hmm
discussion. The wobble. All I know is this: Ye is running for president in 2024. So really, I don't even think he's going to qualify on half of those ballots. And I don't know what the
yeah,
criteria is, but he didn't qualify for many last time. I think Trump is going to lose his mind. I mean, there was discussion with him possibly just taking votes away from the right side because he probably, I don't know if he'll win the bid, so he'll probably go as an independent. So this should be really interesting and comical. I mean, it'll be popcorn worthy, but Ye needs to sit down. Herschel Walker, I just every time I see him, I just cringe. Like he's making up stuff, showing like little toy badges. I
yeah.
can't.
It was. I'd say I think you really should watch that debate, and that
I,
will
I, I don't want
get
to lose any more brain
that will
cells. I
give you
don't
a
want to
bet.
be.
Huh?
I don't
Huh?
want to lose
Say
any
it again.
more brain cells. I think I just want to be
Well,
ignorant at this point.
again,
I'm
I'm
choosing
not telling you to watch it. Not necessarily watch it for Herschel Walker, but watch it against his opponent, and you will see why Herschel Walker didn't decisively beat Herschel Walker. That's again, that says more about the opponent Warnock being where he couldn't decisively beat a dude who could barely articulate anything. So
I just can't. I mean, like everything about it is just like I'm just done. Kanye, I think he's a cancer to himself, to his family, and everything. I think there's something to be said for him having his trauma against losing his wife and all that kind of stuff. But to be honest, I don't really care. I mean, like that has nothing to do with the fact that, like, I think the biggest thing for me, like, it's just it's things like when you make comments about George Floyd. Like, none of us think that George Floyd was a stellar person, that he was some upstanding citizen or anything like that. I just want to make it clear. But George Floyd was still unalived, like and that's the point. And I think he was trying to say it was
yeah,
everything but that. And I was just kind of like, dude, like what you're
all that
not going to.
is
It's so disrespectful
yeah,
to the
all that
family.
comes from that Kanye. I mean, from that Candace. That's all that stuff from the alt right, which I think he's aligned
Yeah.
himself from listening to some of that crap.
And so when
So
I see
again,
about
this
that, it's
the dude. I believe, uh, huh? I believe the dude is just sick. We just have to be honest. This dude is not well, and
he's not
whatever
well.
he's going through, we have to look at it as that he is just not well. You
He's
know,
not.
he just he's just not well, and and we shouldn't put too much into it. The dude's not well. He's gone off to wherever. I have no issue with him changing his name with the Yi if that's he believes is whatever inspired him to do that was a religious or whatnot. No issue with that, but all his other stuff It's not been well thought out. And the sad thing about all this, to be honest with you, is I truly believe because of what Kanye West Ye had done, is the spillover is what affected Kyrie Irving. Because if you
Yeah.
look at what happened to Kyrie Irving, he really said nothing, did nothing. It was just a chain reaction to Kanye West.
Yeah,
So
but
that's
the fact
out
of
of
the
all the
matter
stuff
is
I think he's
black people continuously think that they run their mouth. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have opinions, but I'm like, be prepared for the
well
consequences.
again he didn't run his mouth. He just shared
Yes,
he
he did.
shared a clip, or he shared a link of a documentary that's available on Amazon.
Like
That's
I
like a
said, he still
whatever
ran his
some
mouth. That's a
terrible.
form of communicating, and these people have all had media training, and he knew better. He chose not to do better. I
Well,
mean, I'm not buying it. I mean, you can't sit there and think that
nah, there
sharing
was
religion
nothing.
is
But again, but if you look at that link and if you look at that documentary, there was nothing there that there's some people who said it was anti-Semitic. But if you ask them to point it out, ask them what was said. There's yet this when it comes to, and we're talking about Kyrie, not Ye. When it comes to Kyrie, I still haven't heard what was anti-Semitic. All I keep hearing is
I don't know what was
this is
anti-Semitic.
anti-Semitic.
I mean, honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I don't even
I mean,
care. I
and it's
mean,
getting to this point, and no, but it's getting to the point now. If I sneeze and say a Jew, now now I'm anti-Semitic because I sneeze and it sounds funny. Prime example is because of if you look at Dave Chappelle's monologue he on Saturday Night Live. It
mhm.
was well thought out, very funny, very measured, and they tried to say that was anti-Semitic.
I
So I
have yet
mean,
to catch that. I keep saying I'm going to. I guess I just have too many kids, but I think for me, well, no, honestly, it's like it's so weird because like I would like to produce more content, but I think for me, it's just like y'all are not
no,
that
but
important
and
to my kids. Like
hey,
my family
understandable
just comes
priority.
first, right? And my
Not on
husband,
prioritizing things. Yeah.
yeah, it's my husband, the kids, and the diva cat. So like I try to get on here as much as possible. I think I've been putting out enough, but I have to keep it short, right? Like I thought I had a game tonight. It was really just practice for my daughter. So I ran some errands and I came back. So fortunately for myself, I don't invest a lot of cycles into pop news slash culture. Um, I just don't have the cycles, and I think it benefits me from losing like cycles that I can't get back. I don't have long periods of time to invest in a lot of these things, so it's like I'm catching portions of it. Like I'll
Yeah.
probably look up some stuff tonight, maybe, maybe
Yeah.
not. And then
If you have about 16 minutes just to spare, I would say if you get a chance, watch that monologue that Dave Chappelle did. It's about 15 minutes, maybe a little over 15 minutes. That's why I said 16 minutes. You'll see it's pretty funny. And then after he said that, some folks said that was anti-Semitic, which then you ask those people, all right, what part was anti-Semitic? And usually you get nothing but crickets. And the same thing when it goes back to this Kyrie thing. You ask them, well, what was anti-Semitic? And it's crickets again. So it's getting to the point, it may get to the point where the boy who cried wolf because saying everything's anti-Semitic, it gets tiring at one point. It may sound like, well, nothing's anti-Semitic, and that's where it's being overkill. Just calling anything anti-Semitic just because it may be critical of a different community, just because people are critical of the black community, and so they should be on some of our faults. But that doesn't mean that that person's necessarily anti-black.
well, I'm not going to disagree with you there, but like I said, I didn't see any of that stuff, so I mean, I take it with a grain of salt. I definitely like I know Kanye said he was gonna go DEFCON 3 on
Yeah, that's
people. I was
definitely,
like,
yeah. But see, that's why I'm pushing away and making the clear distinction between Ye and Kyrie.
I still think he should have kept his mouth shut as far as like, look, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what was in it because I don't really care to investigate every single thing about rich black athletes and at that. Like, I'm
Right,
not trying to be funny,
and
but I'm
again,
just
like
like, I
you
don't care
shared
much.
about a documentary.
But my thing is, it's like you're sitting there playing on all these people's teams, and you want all of their endorsements, and you know that those are highly charged things. So I'm thinking, like, look, that's fine if you want to share those things, and like just be prepared for the consequences and the backlash. That's how I
Well,
see it. Like it is what it is.
see, to be fair on that one, I don't, he probably in hindsight didn't think that would be offensive, but because of the wind, how the wind
But
was
it was to
blowing,
some people.
based on, huh? Yeah, well,
But it
again,
was.
I think it gained attention because of Kanye, Yee, excuse me, had this whole Yee
And that
thing
very
got
well,
blown up.
that can very well be true. But this is the thing. Look, if someone offends you, whether they meant to or not, whether the times are heightened or not, the offense still happened, right? Intent in that case doesn't matter. So although his intentions weren't meant to do that, I think he didn't think he probably did receive the backlash of what happened from Kanye or Ye. It is probably true. I think multiple things can be true at the same time, but it doesn't mean that he wasn't offensive. Maybe just even referencing that. I mean, I don't know what it was he referenced, something about black Jews or whatever, because all the
No,
black
it was a
now are out.
documentary.
Hold on a second.
It was a
A lot of
documentary.
people now are claiming to be everything. I mean, like, I'm just like, okay, so what are we this week? I mean, not to say that that doesn't happen or doesn't exist, but everyone's claiming to be the lost Jews and the lost this, and it all depends on the angle and stuff like that you wouldn't take from what you read in the Bible. So I'm like, okay, that's not something I'm going to debate here. But I will say this: Kyrie, he whether he intended to or not, pissed off a group of people. It is what it is. Whether it was
Right.
light or whether it was not, whether it was
Well,
the backlash from
here,
Kanye, doesn't matter.
uh,
Doesn't matter.
okay, here it is. This is the only thing I would say. I believe it's kind of a phony outrage. And the fact
Could
that
be.
why I say it's phony outrage is that folks don't have that same energy for Jeff Bezos or Amazon, or Amazon Prime, where he, saw this and wanted to share this. Hey, this is a cool film, y'all. I think y'all should check this out. It was on
And
Amazon
check this
Prime.
out. And check this out. But Jeff Bezos owns it. And it doesn't have to
Right.
be fair. They don't have to have the
I
same
didn't say it
energy.
was. I
Right.
didn't say
So
it was
but
fair.
when
I'm just
people say,
saying
like,
it's just
you know how many times black people can say, oh, they didn't have the same energy for when Jeff Bezos, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, they don't have to. They can pick and
okay.
choose. I'm like,
Okay.
until we own the publications, until we own the social media, until we own the production plants, until we own the banks, until we own the hedge funds, you see where I'm going? I'm like, people can pick and choose whenever they want. There's a reason why the Asians don't get caught up. They're like, we're going to go back to our own community. We're going to circulate our dollars within. We have our own restaurants. We have our own this. We have our own that. We have our own connections, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They don't
So it
care.
goes.
They don't care
So it
about
goes
all
back
this.
to what I was saying. This is basically what we're experiencing now is the reap and the rewards of the harvest of us abandoning um, our own institutions and our own things just to sit next to have be able to drink out of the same water fountain and pee in the same toilet as folks from the dominant society. I mean, if you look at it, I always think about people, and I got into an, well, I don't want to say an argument, but I had somebody look at things in a different perspective. And when it came to Jackie Robinson, and some black folks in the community put Jackie Robinson in high regards. I don't. I see Jackie Robinson as just a version of tokenism. And what he did, or his symbolism of joining the Major League Baseball, was the death nail to the Negro League. And if you look, and some economists believe that the zenith of the black economy was during the 40s of when the Negro Leagues were um, really in their height in the 40s. And economically, our own institutions and stuff of that nature, that's black folks were thriving. We had our own independent papers, whatnot, and all that. So Jackie Robinson was the first step to breaking down our institutions. And I know symbolically he may not have thought of that, but that's how I see Jackie Robinson as a token. Because if if black folks really wanted to be true integration wouldn't have been tokenism with Jackie Robinson. True integration would have been trying to merge or compete with have the league either merge or compete and look at like at the time Major League Baseball wasn't in certain markets, so the Kansas City Monarchs could have been included, and the Ethiopian Clowns, and other teams that were in other markets that the Major League Baseball wasn't in. So, but we abandoned our own institutions just so we can sit next to folks from the dominant society. We still, and I hate to throw it like that, we're still being from the damages of slavery and Jim Crow and all the other stuff. So, there's layers to it.
Well, I guess now I will say this. I'm not gonna go all hard on the whole integration thing, but I will say, believe it or not, and this is gonna probably piss people off, like, but I'm not like anti-white people. I really am not. I
Well,
think they do it
nobody's
wisely.
saying being anti-white. It's
Hold
just
on, hold on a second.
okay.
I mean,
Again,
you see,
so-called integration.
hold on,
Wait,
hold
wait, wait. Let
on.
me just say this. Let me just
Easy,
no. Let me just
easy,
say this. Let me
easy.
just say
Hold
this.
on. No, no, no. Hold on. I am not anti anything. And I actually don't think it's wrong for people to say, hey, look, you can have community and then there's the greater community, right? The fact of the matter is, Black people don't own anything. I think that um, them seeking proximity to whiteness, um, it is effed up. But at this point, it has to start somewhere. It's not so much as seeking proximity, but what they need to do is figure out how to gain access to resources and then refunnel it back into the community so that when you have your own banking system and your own whatever, you can now say these are the issues that are important to us. We want to fund more hospitals or clinics or whatever it is. We want to put money into research for women who have fibroids. We want to put some of the money back into maybe our colleges. We want to fund um, how to grow food in places where there's a food desert, urban vegetable growing. I don't know, whatever, but it has to start someplace because we're not going to get reparations. So my thing's like, okay, well, you have to be smart first to figure out how can you gain access to the capital, and then you have to funnel it back into your community. That's what I think about it. So yes, there
Well,
is going to be a level of proximity.
again, proximity doesn't mean that you're going to have that same access. Just that again,
I
we
didn't say that,
can't
but
think that the white man's ice is colder. Again, what I was saying, yeah, it's
I
cool
didn't
that
say
they
that.
the
Don't put words in my
legal the
mouth.
legal
Mm-mm.
aspect.
Oh, no, hold on a
No, I'm
second.
not
Really,
saying that you
don't
say
put
that.
words in my mouth. I never said they're
I'm not
ice
saying that you
cold, and I
said
know
that.
it was a metaphor, but what I am
I,
saying is there is no money in our community, so you have to go and get it
well,
from
that's
another.
not true. That's not true.
All
That's
right.
not true. We do have money, and if you look at the spending power, just on the spending power, they say that what
I
we're
disagree.
one of
I
the
disagree. They're going to say, "Oh, Black people have was it 2 billion or 20 billion? I forgot what the number is, right?" But you got to look
trillion. It's
at
up there
the
like
average. What is the average wealth in the community? We're going to stop that because it's pure
well, no,
data.
no, we're talking about
We're going to
spending
be data
power. We're talking
scientists
spending
here.
power, and you're saying that we don't have the
Yeah,
money.
you're
If
talking
we're,
about something, but
well,
then you have to make it relevant. You
look,
can't say, "Oh, Black people have 2 billion or
okay,
whatever."
I will say this. Okay, if for folks who don't have money, it's always kind of funny. I always use this analogy. Black folks in the United States, we are the genie of the lamp for immigrants. And you know what? And I use the term genie. You know what the genie is? Is a magical slave. And you know what a genie does? When all these groups, the immigrants, come to our community, they use us as a lamp. They rub on
Hmm.
us, setting up these shops, and
Yep.
they're able to use our money to
Yep.
to enrich themselves and then make themselves to another level in the society. So for folks who don't have money, it so seems that we have a parasitic relationship with a lot of these immigrants who come into our community.
We
So we
do.
must have some kind of life.
Well,
So
I'll put it
that in
like
that
this.
regard,
I'll
say
put it to
what?
you like this. I'm looking at what our actual net worth and everything else is. That's what I'm looking at. We got men who literally don't want to go to school, and it shows the data shows those who are educated earn, was it 10 or 12? I forget what the multiplier is. These are facts. We don't want to get educated. We don't want to go to school. We don't want to get married. We don't want to get married. We don't want to do anything in order to increase our wealth. You know what they say? Get married, cohabitate.
Right.
You know what's
So
happening with these
so the
other,
the
come on,
the
come on.
question
These
is
other
the question
communities
is
they are
we did get
cohabitating, they're
married. We did.
married. They're getting together, they're
Uh,
getting one house and putting 5 million people in there until they can figure it out. They're getting educated. That's what they're doing.
okay,
Then they set up businesses.
and
We're
I'm
doing
not
it. We're
disagreeing
doing
with you on
it.
that.
Our black men and women, we're doing it separately.
Again, let's look at this. We used to be married. It's not like I said, this whole like I said in the last 20 some odd years, the baby mama thing phenomenon. This is new. The term. It's
No,
just
you're
something that
not. Speak
came
about
within the
men.
last.
Baby daddy.
Oh,
You speak about men, I speak about
I'm
women.
when I say baby mama, baby daddy, same thing. Uh,
It's not the same thing.
you can use both of
Not
them.
to me, it's not.
Baby
It's not.
daddy, baby mama. Okay, these folks who are having kids out of wedlock. Okay, these folks that are having children, being not being married and not having families, traditional families. Um, when did that start happening, and why did that start happening? We have to also start dissecting the behavior of when did this become a thing? Because in the past we had family, we had standard family. So something happened within the last 50 to 60 years, and we need to examine why, what, why, and how do we repair that to move forward, to build families. I think we have all these other things that are going on, thrown at us, the attack on it. And I truly believe, personally, I think we've been socially engineered and picked up with other behavioral issues, which have now become an alphabetical community. That's also been an attack on the institution of family. So we need to take a step back, examine what's happened, and figure out how do we repair this and move forward.
I don't know. I feel like this is a sidebar. I don't think there is any respect in the community. I think there's so much vitriol. I think that our interests do
So
not align. I'm going to be
again,
honest.
let's
If
take
I
a step
were,
back. How did respect get lost? How did the
there's a,
respect get
there's
lost?
a,
Where did we?
well, look, the reasons are the reasons, but they exist, is what I'm saying. And in order to move forward, I'm like, you have to realign. We're not going to be realigned. Let me tell you something right now. Thank goodness I'm married to my husband. He's my best friend most of the time until he drives me crazy. Okay. Um, if I were single, I would not marry, or I am not so sure I would be with a black guy. Because number one, at the end of the day, I'm still a woman, and women crave security. They want physical security, they want financial security, they want sexual security, they want spiritual security, they want educational security, they need social security, they want security. And at this point, based on what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, I would not feel secure around the vast majority of what is out there. You've got
Right,
men, the language that they use on women alone. Now, I'm telling you from the woman's perspective. I
right.
would not feel safe. When I was in college, you and I had this conversation before. When
What?
I was in college, the men, the black men, the men that I was most attracted to were the most disrespectful men. The ones who protected me the most didn't even look like our men. Now, that's real talk. They didn't even
Right.
look like black men. These were white men who were literally caping for me. It wasn't black
So
men. Very men that I
okay.
would seek protection from were the very ones who would cause the most harm. The language, everything very physical. I'm like, whoa, 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 what are we doing here? Why do you get to touch me at this point? So if I were single today, although I have a preference for someone who looks like me, I would not segregate myself to just black men. I would not. I want somebody who's going to wake up every day. Who's going to be like, I rock for you. I love you. I care about your best interest. I want you to be able to rest in your femininity because that's what everybody's saying right now. Although my preferences for a black man, let me tell you something. I'm spoiled. I spoiled myself, and then my husband further spoiled me. And there's not too many men out there in a demographic that I would want to rock with that would continue to spoil me. I'm not
Right.
gonna have somebody tell me that I need to sit with somebody. I'm like, I don't have to. Why should I? Well, these are good dudes out here. I'm like, but I have my own standards too. Why do I have to lower my standards for you? I'm used to being
Right.
spoiled. So I'm going to deal with somebody who's going to spoil me. Why do I have to lower my standards for you? Raise yours. That's where I'm at with it. I see the way
No,
they
but
talk
again,
about.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I would say let's look at the market that's out here, the dating market, the dating pool, or whatever, and how are these men raised? Who raised these folks, right? When did they get raised like this, and what's happened? And it goes back to let's we have an illness. We need to figure out what's the illness and how do we cure this. And I will say this: when I think about just the like I said, the respect and all that, one thing that I do know, like the Nation of Islam, what they had something that was called the Fruit of Islam, which was the manhood training, teaching men what it is to be a man, what it meant to be a husband, what it means to be a father. And at the same time, they also had in the Nation of Islam for women what it means to be a wife, what it means to be a wife, a woman within a society, and each roles for the man and the woman, and how they help develop and build families. So you have those units within that organization, and I think we need to go back to the basics within the community. We've lost that, and again, we first need to find out where did this happen, when did this happen, where did it happen, and how do we fix this because what's going on right now is not working. And I think, to be honest, for things to get better, unfortunately, I truly believe I think it's going to have to get worse.
I've already said that. I think I said in a video I did today, I said you got to let things fall at this point. To be honest, um, I don't. I'm doing the best I can with my husband to raise my boys, and so when we send them out of here, that they are a good representation of manhood.
Now,
Even though they don't act like it right now, because I'm like, I'm gonna need you to go ahead.
now,
Like, I mean, I can Duke is concerned about them, but like I look at my daughter, I'm like,
again,
how hard for
this
her to
goes
find a
back
black
to I know. Remember what I was saying some years, a couple of years ago, and I know you didn't like this solution that I came up with.
I don't believe in that. No, I don't. I know you wanted to engage in like polygamous, but I'm like, how can you possibly?
I
First of
didn't say
all,
that. No, 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 no. That's not
you
what I
said
said.
there
No,
needs to be a man who had multiple wives. That's what you said.
I said
That's
no,
what
no,
you
no,
said.
no. I said no, no, no. I
Yes,
said
you
that
did.
needs to be. I said that may need to be examined. That's not what
And
I
no,
didn't
it
say.
does
That
not
may
need
need
to
to
be
be
examined.
examined.
It does not. It does
However,
not.
that was
It
not.
does
Wait,
not.
wait. That wasn't the only. That wasn't the only thing I said. I think you forgot the other thing I was saying. Remember, I
I
was
remember
saying
our intimate
about.
conversations,
Remember, I remember. Well, remember the other thing I was saying about if this one family is
arranged
here,
marriages.
that may be a solution.
I don't think it's a solution. Number one, I don't think those
You
are a
just
good
said the
solution.
pool's not that great, and you don't. You wondering who are your kids going to marry,
They
and
wouldn't
you have
marry
to
anybody
vet.
in the pool. Then I wouldn't. I
No, no,
wouldn't.
I'm
I
just
wouldn't.
saying, but you want to vet the idea is vetting for good
I
mate
would not want to be
partners.
signed up to deal with somebody who I'm not attracted to. I don't even like, but they're like, oh, but he's good on paper. And I'm finding more and more when I talk to these people who are been in these arranged marriages and stuff like that. A lot of it comes out. There's a lot of DV that happens in these. Okay, they
DV,
do
you
it
got to
because
excuse me. You got to excuse me.
domestic,
What's DV?
domestic. You know
Okay,
what? Okay. So
okay.
there's a lot of DV that's happening in these marriages. There's all kinds of stuff going on. There's all kinds of stuff going on
Okay.
in these arranged marriages. And what I'm saying to you is that would not in the Western culture anyway. That I don't think that would you got to go over to
I
sub-Saharan.
know that's extreme. No, I know that's an extreme, but sometimes an extreme circumstance
You
causes an
can't
extreme solution.
you can't sit there and even possibly think that having a marriage, a man with multiple women, is even something that
Well, I
should
was
be
thinking more
examined.
so about the
No, no, let me
range.
finish.
I was thinking more
No,
about
no,
the range.
that's what you said, right? And I'm like, you can't possibly believe that because our men don't have any money. They're worth 42. $1,000 a
That
year.
wouldn't be that guy would not be a candidate for to
But
having
that is the
a multiple
average.
wives.
That is the
Well, I'm not
average.
talking about that. I'm not talking about the average. I'm talking about the
But you
acceptance.
can't sit there and say you're not talking about the average when that's the bulk of the community, right? The average man is
I
worth
said that's I said no, no.
$42,000.
I said that's one. I said again. I said that's maybe something that needs being examined. Number
If
one.
that
Number
how do
two,
you wanna
somebody
use
would
that?
have to. Number two, the person would have to. If we're talking about, if we realistically talk about, the person would have to qualify for that. The man would have to be
How
qualified
many
for
people
that.
are gonna qualify? What is the bell curve?
Not many. Not many.
Exactly. So it's not something that it's not even a realistic option is what I'm saying. You can't possibly say that something should be examined. No, most people don't
No,
in the bell
but the
curve,
other okay, but
$40,000.
that's one thing just to throw out there. Just we're talking about solutions here. It's brainstorming solutions, and I
Solutions, you
know
know
we've
what it
gotten away
is?
from the ye thing.
It starts with multiple things. It starts with stop making crappy music because when you say the same things over and over again, everybody believes it. So we stop making it. It can't get promoted. Everybody says, "Oh, well, they're promoting it." I'm like, "Stop making it. They can't promote something that's not made. Stop making a bad
Right.
music.
But
Stop talking to
but
each other like
but
POS.
okay. So
Stop."
these guys who are making the music that none of us really like or endorse, how do we stop them? Because they're gonna do it regardless because they're gonna get paid. So
I
how do
don't
we
know.
stop
That's for
that?
black men to figure out. That's for black men to figure
Well,
out because I mean, I'm not saying
well,
black men aren't making it,
I
but
have
the vast majority of
I
the
truly
people out
believe
there are black.
there's solutions that could be done, but I don't think we're there yet.
Oh,
I don't think we're there. I don't think we're there yet. I mean, prime example, if we were there yet, people like Stephen A. Smith and Charles Barkley wouldn't have the gumption to say the things they say because we're not there yet to handle those kind of people.
Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, any of those folks who are off code that we're not there yet to put people. But like I said, we need to have some form. I've said this before. We don't have a punishment form. We need to have some form of punishment. But again, I don't think we're there yet.
I'll tell you what, I don't like to offer up tons and tons and tons of solutions for black men. I think that's for black men to
Again,
police.
I agree with
You,
you. I
you
agree with you.
wouldn't have
But I don't think we're
Kanye.
that. I don't think we're there yet.
You wouldn't have Kanye performing because I think it's a full on performance. He should get any Emmy,
Again,
Grammy, Oscar, and Tony.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Off code behavior, what should be handled, but we're not there yet. I
So
think
I mean,
at some point.
I would not. I personally think that that has to be something that's handled with the men. I think
I'm
the
not
women have to
disagreeing
do it
with
with the
you with
women.
that. I'm not.
Um,
I hope you understand what I mean when I say we're not there yet.
mhm. Because we've had these conversations before, but I will say is when you have this meteoric ascension in a Kanye and then definitely like Herschel, like all of a sudden he's like, oh, you guys a politician. Um, it's just sad because they all look and act the same. So maybe Kanye doesn't sound as much as a dumb dumb as Herschel, but look at how they are. It's Kanye. It's
Yeah, there's degrees.
Herschel.
There's degrees to this, and then with
Yeah,
that same
the
degrees,
Charles
with that
Barkley.
same degrees, how far is he from Warnock? How far is he from
But
some of
it
these
doesn't
other
matter.
so-called?
Insert. You can insert any name. I mean, I know you really want to go hard on Warnock, but I don't even care. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's
No,
Warnock. I don't care if
I'm
it's
just you.
Barkley. I don't care if
I'm
it's,
not. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that I don't see the difference between any of them.
and that's
They're
fine. What I'm
manufactured
saying
and they
is,
don't
I
come
don't.
from.
I don't care about seeing the difference. What I'm saying is, this is what is there, regardless of the
Right.
degree. It's there, and I'm like, this is what now is running for president in 2024. That's
Right.
what he said. Now, he probably won't qualify for the ballots in most of these places, but he's putting on his whole clown outfit and he's running for president in 2024. This is what we've got going on in our community. This is what we're putting out there. And like I said, it doesn't matter. You can rotate. Just keep rotating. We can put
And
like
you
I
know what?
said, Charles Barkley
I want to
didn't care, and
kind of.
people are like, well, he's always said he
I
didn't
may
care.
want to. I may want to throw this out there. You said out of our community. I'm not sure that we can say that Ye and or Walker are necessarily from our community, but I get, but they have the face similar to of our community. So I get what you're saying, but
I
I don't know
think
if I necessarily can say they're from our community.
I don't think hardly any of the celebrity are from the community, right? I mean, look at
Well,
Beyonce, look at Jay-Z. They have left the community. Like, let me rephrase that. They are not, they, some people are of the culture, but not the community. Well, it's hard because I'm like splitting hairs here. Like, I would say I'm not really part of the culture, but I'm part of the community, right? Meaning I don't identify with much of what's going on in the culture. I just don't. I don't like half the things that are out there. I think that when people are like, "Yes, she did that," I'm like, "She looks like a whore." I'm like, that's not what I'm trying to teach my daughter. Much of
right.
what is in the so-called culture, I'm like, I don't identify with it. I don't identify with any of those things. I don't want any parts of it. So I will say
Agreed.
this.
And
I look at
uh,
Candace Owens and I
again,
was listening to her and I'm like, sometimes I can kind of halfway get what she's saying. She said she doesn't want to be part of, I think she said she didn't want to be part of the community, but I believe maybe what she meant was culture, and I got to double check what she said, but I get what she's saying. She's like, I don't want that. I don't want that for me. And I'm like, a lot of people will be like, oh, she hates being black. Now she probably does also not really like being black, but
well,
I understand where she's coming from. I'm like, this is
I
silly.
I think we need to also kind of we need to also put some boundaries. What is the community and what is the culture? Because I get what you're saying. 'Cause some of that stuff I don't understand. I don't necessarily say it's part of the culture. Some of this stuff I believe is pushed, manufactured, and social engineered towards us. This whole like prime example, like the Meg Thee Stallion and the when I think of Meg Thee Stallion and what's her name, Cardi B and that WAP stuff, that's been pushed and promoted. And I don't think that's our culture, but I think they're trying to make that part of the culture and trying to say it is by outside forces for selling dollars and not understanding that this is making black women and a whole look and going back to the thing about it being socially engineered. You have like Hillary Clinton and her daughter up there painting or whatever, talking with Meg Thee Stallion, like she has legitimacy. And again, I looked at that like, who is she? Meg Thee Stallion is
Well,
nobody,
we've given
and who are you?
legitimacy
Number
to
one,
Cardi B.
huh?
We've legitimized
Say
Cardi
what?
B. We have
I don't know if
legitimized Cardi B. Yes, we have.
I don't know if necessarily we have, but if the in certain industries have tried to do that and push that. So and it goes back to I think some of this is socially engineered and manufactured. These folks are not necessarily. I mean, some of them have a little bit of talent, but some of them have been promoted and pushed. I mean, because what's her name? She came from what the basketball wives formula, or whatever it was. One of them dysfunctional shows where it's supposed to be reality, and then she kind of went on and become famous. I'm talking about the name,
I don't know. I'm at the
what's her
point now.
name?
This is
Cardi B.
sidebar.
Cardi
Yeah,
B.
I was one of those hip hop shows. I think no,
Yeah, I can't keep up with it because it's all the same. I get them all mixed up because it's all kind of
I don't know
formulaic.
which
It's all
one
the
is which. To
same.
be honest. I don't watch it. I don't know.
Look, yeah, I can say it's hip hop and basketball, love, love and
I stopped
wives, or
watching.
something.
I
I
never
don't know.
watched
All this,
that one. I never watched that one, but I used to
they
watch
all the same.
Basketball
They're all
Wives.
the
I can't
same to me.
watch it.
I don't know the difference. I
I
don't
don't
see the
know.
difference in any of them. They're all the same
It's just too
because it's
much.
manufactured and it's a. I truly believe this is social engineering going on.
Regardless if it's social engineering or not, it's here, right? Like we know it is what it is. What I'm saying is
Right. So
this
how do we
what
stop
we
this and how do we
want.
come back?
I mean, like I said, I mean, look, I really think it goes back to like, first of all, stop singing the crazy crap. Start going to school. Like we literally have people not wanting to push education. Well, not everybody's getting education. I'm like, are you serious right now? That's what we're gonna say now. And although yes, there are people who don't necessarily go after education. And I'm like, but the fact of the matter is the data shows like you earn more. We need to get more of that earning power. We need people to get married. People are now like, let me tell you something. Black women have given up on love. This is crazy. We've got women out here like, I'm just going to be by myself, but I get it. I get it. Because let me tell you something. My husband can never die. He can never die ever unless we die at the same time. But should something like that happens, let me tell you, I would be like highly skeptical of some man trying to holler at me. I'm like, oh no,
I think
not.
again, I think
I'm
it's
just not interested. I'm like, no,
I think the
no.
dating pool is terrible on all sides, and I think it's again. I really also think people don't understand what it is to be married, what is a wife, what is a husband, and I think a lot of us have been geared to think this stuff on TV is what you're supposed to live. I think that's another aspect that TV has really, or these things in TV and movie is also kind of warped people's mindsets on how to be in a relationship, how to be in a marriage, how to be in their role to move forward. And like prime example, a lot of these dudes don't know what it takes to be a husband, and a lot of these women definitely don't know what it is to be a wife.
You see,
And
even right there,
I
what you're
never
saying, even right there, stop right there.
what?
You said a lot of these men don't know what it takes to be a husband, and a lot of these women definitely don't know. I mean, even like the
Well,
nuance
I
in what
said
you're saying.
definitely. I can't speak because I never dated a man. I can't speak to that.
But
I
even with
can't
your
speak to
language,
that aspect.
I'm telling you, to me, it sounds like you
But
really are like angry at women because I listen to how like you talk about men and
no,
you talk.
I'm not angry at women. I'm just telling you, and I was going to a point to that I never forget speaking to some women, and I asked them, "Well, okay, what is your responsibility within a relationship?" I asked the woman, like, "Okay," I said, "Okay, you got this guy. He does everything that you want him to do, and he's doing everything he's supposed to do." And I asked two women this question. I said, "Okay, now what is your role within the relationship?" And you know what the answer was most of the time? To look good.
Well, like
That
I
was
said,
it.
if that's who you're talking to, then you deserve to get the answers that you're getting. If that's who you're surrounding yourself with, because people that I know don't talk like that, but that's who you're surrounding yourself with. And I'm telling you right now, look, all I can say is this: based off of the demographic data, the data that's out there, and based on what I'm hearing, which is some of it's just based off heuristics, I'm like. I listen to how men talk about women, to include some married men. And I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't want to be married to you either. Listen to the way these married men talk about women. I'm like, there is such hatred and vitriol and resentment. I would not want to be in it. Let me tell you something. When I met my husband, I would not. I'm just like, I remember my husband. I remember I was like, I don't remember where we were. And I remember I was going to make him a plate. You know what he said to me? He was like, "I don't need you for that. I don't need you to make me a plate." Now he's really particular about his plate and stuff, right? Like he doesn't like extras too.
He
Like
was
so
afraid he was gonna mess it up.
he just doesn't
No,
like anybody to make a plate of food for him. Not his
no, I'm
mama, not
just joking. I'm
nothing.
joking.
No, I
I'm
know
joking.
you're joking. But he is just like, you don't work for me, like you're not my slave, you're not anything, he was like, I don't need that. Like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, figured, he was like, I appreciate it, but like I'm not that guy. Like other dudes need all that. He's like, I don't need that. I just want to make this clear. I don't need you for that. Like, and so other dudes get off on that kind of stuff. He said, I don't. You're my woman. This is how we get down. You don't have to get up chasing after making my plate and carrying on. He's like, you don't go fetch for me. He said other dudes do that, not this one. I remember I was like, before we stopped ironing clothes, he was like, you don't iron my clothes. He's like, I iron my own clothes. I'm like, really? He's like, but that's just him. He was like, I don't need you for that. He's like you don't need me for that. We need each other for other things. But he was just kind of like, other dudes do that stuff. If that's what you want to do, but he was like, you're not my servant. Like we serve each other, but his thing is like that's
Right.
not a requirement for me. Like
Okay.
so some dudes get off on it. He's like, that's not me. So I'm just making this clear. You don't get up going to go fetch me a plate of food. He was like, "What is that?" I was like, "Okay, gang, I will never make you another plate again." So when people say, "Do you make your husband a plate?" I just say no. Now they don't know the backstory, but I'm like, I don't make him plates. He is really
That's
because
kind of
like
a disingenuous answer, though. That's why. It's kind of like my
I will,
husband doesn't
but
like me to. Well, the
he
answer was my
just
husband
doesn't.
doesn't like me to like plate.
He doesn't want anybody
Yeah,
touching his food. He's real like
yeah.
real silly acting about his food, but actually he's silly
I
on
got you. I got you though.
you know what I mean?
I
There's a
got you.
certain things that he's got his quirks about. No one touches food. He does not. He doesn't believe in used cars. And like, and everybody still laughs. I'm like, you do realize he's like, I want my butt cheeks to be the only ones that gets the indent. I'm like, somebody sat in your car before, right? He's like, but they didn't make a permanent mark in the seat. Like, he's serious. He doesn't like
Asperger's.
he.
No, I'm joking.
No, look, he is like,
I'm
look, let me
joking.
tell you, like
I'm
he doesn't like. I know something else. He doesn't like used home.
OCD. You
He
got
doesn't like used.
OCD.
He must. He doesn't like used. Check this out. Let me tell you the reason why. He does not like pre-existing homes for two reasons. Let me tell you how crazy he is. I got the hiccups. One, he doesn't know what has been done to the house after like it's been inspected. So, like, whenever we would move into our home, whatever, you know how you have to have the inspection? He would go
Uh huh.
hire another inspector to come on top of the inspector. He's like, I don't trust anybody. I want to see how this is going down. Because he's like, he knows that once you get into a home, people just do stuff to the home. You customize it. He's like, I don't know what they did to this home after this has been checked off. This is how he is. And number two, and you're really going to like this one. He's like, I don't want people getting comfortable on my toilets. I'm like, you do know when they're building your home your toilet. He's like, I
you,
need brand new toilets.
you,
I'm like, we can always
you,
buy a new
you
toilet.
know you could change out the toilet though. You can change out
I
the toilet
told,
if you're that
I
so
told
whatever.
him. He needs to get on somebody's couch. So
Yeah,
anyway,
that sounds
he's really particular.
yeah.
He's like, I don't want anybody
Yeah,
making my food.
that's
That's some other dudes
yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
You
He's
no, don't.
unique. You found a unique one. So yeah.
And there's other things he's like really regular about, but he's like, don't touch my food. I don't want a used car. And I don't want to use home. But I'm good. I was like, you need to go talk about it. But that's where he's at with it. The point I'm getting at was there are these people out here who don't want to have a black mate. They don't want to be around black people. They don't trust anything with black. I mean, look at Kanye. Look at
Yeah, it's called
Herschel.
self hatred. Yeah. So yeah.
So they don't want anything like, look, let me ask you this. Did Kanye, who claims to be so enlightened and so intelligent, did he take all that money when he had it to create his own production plant for his ugly Yeezy shoe? No. Did he invest in his own social media platform or maybe create a own bank? I mean, he can't do everything. Did he build something within the community? No.
No,
No, he
he was
didn't.
so arrogant and he believed that he had to rely on folks in the dominant society. I don't know if you remember. Well, there was a saying that was popular for a while. Houseway. You ever heard this say? Houseway.
Mm-mm.
You ever heard that saying? Houseway. Okay, that's because of formerly that was because of Yee, formerly known as Kanye. He was on uh, uh, the radio show with Sway in the morning,
Oh.
and this was when Kanye was talking about going into the manufacturing and designing clothes and stuff like that. And at the time known as Kanye, said, "Hey, I want to get into this and I want to do this, but I need to get with these designers and I need to get with these folks whose ice is colder and the water's wetter to this." And Sway in the morning said, "Man, you should just take a step back, look what they're doing, and do your own thing." And then Kanye, with his arrogant self, formerly known as Kanye, with his arrogant say, "How Sway?" That's what how Sway. You don't have the answers. And then what was funny, and that was like over 10 years ago. And then recently, Yee admitted that Sway was right. I should have listened to.
Yeah, because like I said, he didn't take any of that money and invested in any of his own anything. And then
Right.
now, you know what I mean? So anyway, let me just say this and we'll get off. Kanye, or Ye is running for president in 2024, we don't gatekeep our image. We don't gatekeep anything. We allow these people who we think are good for the culture. Once we have identified a couple of clowns, then we have other people will take that clownery and they'll say, okay, this clown seems to have so much voice and power within that culture, that community. So now we're going to elevate him. And look, let me tell you something. This is going to really make people mad. The same thing applies to Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Mhm.
People think that they're part of the culture. No, they're not. They don't know anything about the culture anymore. They're so far removed and out of touch. They don't care. I guarantee you, Beyonce's going to come out with a concert, and those tickets are going to be outrageous. And then people are going to say,
Not
like,
folks who
oh,
are
well, huh?
not for folks who are so-called part of the culture. No, the
Yeah,
tickets aren't for people who are so-called part of the culture.
exactly. And then the thing
They're
is,
priced out.
and then people were getting on me like, well, you don't know what she does behind closed doors. I'm like, but wait a second, she can publicly take your money. But someone who's in a position that she's in, you mean to tell me that she can't say, hey, you know what? I'm interested in, how we can naturally grow our eyelashes. I don't know, whatever thing she's into. And then she could actually be really instrumental in having some sort of ground roots movement and influencing her
I
influence with that.
You know what? This is what I was when I was particularly younger. I guess it still goes today. Now I feel a little bit today. I'm very leery of any black person, people who necessarily all of a sudden now have the endorsement or the ears of folks in the dominant society. So if you're on that point of level, I think the trust has been gone. You should always look at them sideways, in my opinion. So,
I mean that's where I'm at
so
with it. I
yeah,
feel like these people
yeah.
have been
If folks
elevated.
from the dominant society endorse you, then yeah, you've been elevated and then kind of signed off by folks from the dominant society. Yeah, I'm good. I'm
Well,
good.
in
I'll leave.
fairness, I feel
I'm
like
good.
that about all
So,
politicians. I feel like that about all
well,
politicians.
I was talking about celebrities as far as. Well, I wasn't just saying I was politicians. I was just talking about folks who are in any kind of music, movie, whatever industry. When folks with dominant society, and there's no kind of like disdain from the dominant society, generally that should say something to you.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
They're
it's
celebrated.
tough to refute. I'll give you that. But like I said, I mean, and I think that anyone in Hollywood is just pretty much corrupt. And I don't even care what race you are. I think Hollywood is Holly weird.
Hmm.
Um, they're all just kind of like out there. I don't care what race you are. And I hate to sound so kumbaya and then we'll get off here, but like I do believe that there's some good non-black people out there too. Like there, stop it. But there are
Oh
like
yeah,
I've met
they come up
wonderful.
like John Brown. That's that's my standard.
Yep. Well, I guess I just have low standards because I've met some great people, and I feel like everyone chooses how they want to present in this world or the experience they want to have, and I don't want the experience of constantly being angry. I know that Black people have been mistreated. I get it, but what I don't want is every interaction I have with someone who doesn't look like me is full of suspicion. I am aware that people have their biases. I do believe they have their biases, but I can't live my life in that space with that kind of anger and hatred and mistrust. Because I look at the way Black women are doing it right
Is
now. I look at the way men are. I just made a
is it
couple of
anger or more
videos.
cautious? Is it okay to be cautious?
You can be
There's nothing
cautious.
wrong with being cautious though, right?
I mean, you can, but I think, like I said, look, you have a collection of experiences that I think differ from mine. Um, but you're also a man, I'm a woman. There's like all kinds of things that, I would say that for me, it is not healthy for me to constantly be looking sideways. There have been people who have, looked after me before a black person would. They didn't ask for anything. They darn near served me. Like, didn't ask for anything in return. They were just like, I remember I had something else going on, and somebody came and dropped by my house. I was like blown away. And she just sat there and checked on me. That was it. That was it. She didn't ask for things. She was just like, the people who I thought would have been there didn't give a flying F about me. I was like, this is telling, and this person didn't look like me. She had nothing to gain. She had no dog in the fight. She was like, hey, I was like stunned. I was touched by it. So, like I said, you and I have a different set of experiences. I don't choose to show up in this world where I'm constantly like side eyeing, although I do side eye some. I'm like, okay. But
Well,
there's some good people out here. And
well, it's not necessarily side eye. It's just like, okay, you're over there, I'm here, we good. I'm gonna handle my business, you handle yours, and
that's
somewhere
okay
we'll,
too.
you know, just
That's
it's
okay
about
too.
business. It's all about business. We live in a country where it's a free market society, and everything's based on business, and we need to act accordingly.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll go ahead and I'll say thanks for coming on.
At least that's my philosophy how I see it. At least that's my philosophy how I see it.
Hey,
And my standard for so-called good white person is John Brown.
okay. Well, I just want to say go yay 24. Hey
And
everybody.
read
Look for look for him on the
folks read up
ballot.
on folks read up on John Brown and ye 24.
Ye or yay?
Let's get the S show to go. Let's get this. Hey, I think it's gonna be a great S show with him, Trump, and
I think so
all the
too.
other
I
clowns that's
can't
gonna enter the ring.
wait. I am going to get
I
my
mean, to be
heat on.
honest with you, when Trump was in office, I'll tell you, when Trump was in office, I loved it. It was so funny. It was history in the making. We were watching the actual
He
live
was
history,
comical.
and I had no complaints, huh?
He was comical. I'll give you that.
So what?
He was comical. I mean,
I mean, look, I thought George Bush was straight comedy. Man, Trump took it to a whole nother level.
he was. I mean, like I said, Ye is delusional. I think I had a little definition up there, but I've been on here for a while. He's delusional. He's here it
I
is.
think the man.
Characterized by
Can we agree?
he's
Yeah,
characterized
that's
by or
him.
holding syncretic beliefs or impressions that are contradicted by reality or rational argument, typically as a symptom of mental disorder. That's what delusional is by definition.
That's
But all
ye.
right.
That sounds like ye to me. I think we've come to the conclusion that we all believe and agree that ye is delusional and the brother needs help. I'm praying for him. Be honest with you. I mean, let's think about all the moves that this brother has made. Look who he. I mean, I'm not trying to shame somebody for their behaviors of past and who they dated, but this dude married a woman who got famous for having a sex tape. He wifed her. That's a, as they say, she belongs to the streets. Is that the same? And he put a ring on it. I
He
mean,
wanted that. Like, she bought her
right.
body to make sure she can attract the black male gaze. I was like, yo, she is a
I mean,
tactical master. She's a strategic
well,
genius.
I think we need to take a step back, and it's not her. I think it's her mom trained them. If you heard about
Yeah, I did.
the
The
Ray
tapes.
J and
Yeah.
whatever, that was all contrived through the mother.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
she is really the person behind the curtain who's manufactured all this.
I could not
She
watch the tape of
she is the madam of Hollywood of the reality TV.
she's definitely that. Hey, but everybody, this would have been a great time for you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button. I need to go because it's 10:12. Being that you've moved further west, you've still got some time. I'm on the East Coast, so I gotta get off of here.
All right. Well, all right, folks in podcast land, subscribe. Please make comments. Anything else? And what I'd like to see some comments. What would you like to see me do? I'm trying to put my stuff together. So any comments would be really appreciated. And if Miss Bo
Start
could
your
share that with
channel.
us. So,
You
yeah,
need to start
well,
your
we're
channel.
getting there. It's in the works. It's in the works.
All right. Bye.
Come come to a channel on YouTube soon. The
All right.
G Smile.
I will keep you guys posted. Bye.